Greetings and salutations, I'm Moonstar Stories and I'm back with another video. Today I'll be talking about another story of mine called Scarlets and Emeralds. I'll be talking about one of its characters and my preparation of making it a comic. First, I'll talk a bit about Scarlets and Emeralds and the context around it. So unlike the other two stories I'm currently developing, aka my competition story in my world building video and my detective story, I'm currently in the middle of writing this. I also have another story which is a hard choice. I love that story and I'm really proud about finishing it, but that's a story I've already completed. What I mean by I have 3 stories that I don't mean I have 3 stories. I mean I have 3 stories I want to develop in the future. I have 4 stories in total if we're talking about the stories I've developed and the story I'm developing in the future. That's what I mean. But anyways, back to Scarlets and Emeralds. Scarlets and Emeralds is a work-in-progress story I'm making with a friend of mine. Her first name is Grace, and we met each other online last April. We came up with Scarlets and Emeralds together, and we're co-authors of the story too. We write alternating chapters. For example, she will write the first chapter, then I will write the second, and then she will write third, etc., etc., etc. We also write from different character POVs. She writes from a character named Spencer, and I would write from another character named Rosalind. I'll elaborate on the story and its characters later, but I'm explaining the context right now. Currently, we've written about 90 pages of the story, and we're about halfway through. Not to plug my own stuff, but you can read the story on getunderlined.com and Wattpad, both of which I've linked down in the description below. Now I'll get to the actual story. Once upon a time, there was 2 tribes, the Scarlets and the Emeralds. Okay, that's where the title comes from. The Scarlets have scarlet eyes, while the Emeralds have emerald eyes, hence the name. 50 years ago, the 2 tribes lived in peace, but then the Fire Nation attacked. Wait, sorry. Wrong story. The Scarlet King attacked the citizens of the Emerald tribe. He seemed to possess the power of hypnosis, being able to mind control the Scarlets every Sunday. He was able to use that power to organize the Scarlet troops and defeat the Emeralds. Since then, the Scarlets have taken over, while the Emeralds are exiled to the outer parts of the tribe, forced to live in fear. And every Sunday, the Scarlets fall back into hypnosis, and when they do, they will survey the Emeralds and put a stop to any potential rebellions. And every week they take back 1 prisoner as a warning that any one of them could be that one if they don't obey. That's the general gist of it anyways. It will make more sense if you read the story. Now, on to the characters. As you may have guessed, there's 2 main characters in this story. First is Spencer. He is a 14-year-old emerald living in the forests of Emerald City. Spencer's character is mostly created by Grace, since she writes for him, so I won't talk too much about him. Instead, I'll be talking about my character, Rosalind. Rosalind is a 14-year-old Scarlet. She comes from an upper-middle-class family in the better part of town. Essentially, the upper-middle-class Scarlets are the most sheltered group in the 2 tribes, so naturally, coming from the most sheltered group, Rosalind grows up pretty sheltered. Oh gosh, how many times did I say sheltered in that last sentence? When it comes to Rosalind's personality, though, she starts the series as polite, sheltered, and good-natured. But also a bit curious and a bit rebellious. She often disagrees with some of the Scarlet King's actions in her head, and she questions if there's more going on than she's told. But since she's the Scarlet King controls information, so she doesn't really know the full extent of the Scarlet King's tyranny, and besides, she lives a pretty comfortable life and lives in good conditions, and she enjoys living in Scarlet City. She has quite a rather nice life there. So even though she disagrees with the Scarlet King sometimes and feels a bit boxed in, and because she wants to venture out of Scarlet City, but she's afraid to because she's told that Emerald City is bad place or something like that, and she wants change to happen. Like, there are certain things that she wants to change, but she still likes Scarlet City. That's kind of the thing with like the Scarlet Citizens. A lot of them don't fully agree with the Scarlet King, but most of them don't actively rebel. Like, none of them actively rebels because their lives are like pretty good, or at least better than the Emeralds. So why would they risk all of that when they wouldn't really gain anything from rebelling? They're not like the Emeralds who are being actively oppressed and they need things to change. The Scarlets, they're like the Scarlets are pretty complacent. Now, I'll come back to Rosalind. So Rosalind, being relatively sheltered, isn't very street smart, unlike Spencer, but she's pretty book smart. In fact, she has a little garden she likes to go to, and she just curls up there and reads. She's definitely intelligent, but she strikes me as the type who kind of has her head stuck in the clouds and isn't, like, super concerned with, like, politics or philosophy, which makes sense. Like, she's 14. She's never had to worry about these things, and why would she? Like, why would she worry about politics and philosophy? Anyways, she's an ambivert. She gets along with people well, but she's not very good at reading people or analyzing them. Okay, so the last thing I want to say about her character is that if you see my last video, you should know that I've mentioned a strategy about making, like, characters that, like, whenever you're, like, struggling with a character, like, take this thing that you're struggling at and, like, take a unique spin on that and make that into your defining trait. That's a tip I have. For example, with Rosalind, I saw she was a bit tame and boring. So I took a spin on that, and I decided, since she's in Scarlet City, maybe she's just very sheltered and prefers to go in her garden and read and doesn't really know or experience a lot of bad things. So when she goes to Emerald City, during the story, she has to face the reality of, like, bad things in Emerald City, and she's forced to take responsibility, and she has to shape herself to be both smarter and stronger to, like, survive new challenges she's never had to face in Scarlet City. Anyways, that's all I have for Rosalind. Now on to, like, the final topic. I won't talk too much about the last topic, but I'll just talk a little bit. Finally, I'll talk about some of the other drawings I've included in this video. By now, you're probably confused why these drawings are in this video. Like, why is there a horse? What is the house doing here? Well, now it's time to explain. Essentially, I had the idea to turn into a comic one day, and these are just some of the, like, it's honestly such a great experience brainstorming the comic, and I really like them, so I included it in them. I definitely enjoy seeing her spin on this story and working with her in another video, but that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed it, you can like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Have a wonderful day! Bye!